Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. So this is another question of March 2024 exam series, and this is AS Economics paper 2. You can see question number 2 on the screen. Stop the video, read the question carefully, and try to make the marking scheme or mind map of this question and answer. Right. So then later on you can listen to me what I'm saying about this question, and meanwhile I'll also show you the complete answer to this question as well. So before looking at the answer, let's have a look on the question and we can split it into parts. For every 6 mark, 8 mark and 12 mark question, you have to give 3 assessment objectives: assessment objective 1, 2 and 3. Assessment objective 1 is knowledge, and in knowledge what you have to do is you have to pick the main terms that are given in this question and then define them and give examples of those. Assessment objective 2 is analysis. In analysis you try to answer the question that is asked here, and assessment objective 2 is 3 is basically evaluation, where you negate the analysis and give a conclusion. So starting with assessment objective 1, question says, with the help of a demand and supply diagram, explain how the introduction of an indirect tax affects equilibrium in the market and consider the extent to which the incidence of the tax will fall on the consumer. So first of all, identify the knowledge points. First knowledge point is indirect tax and the other one is equilibrium. So first of all, you have to define what indirect tax is and give example of that. So indirect tax is the tax that is imposed on consumer spending, and examples include custom duties, excise duties, general sales tax, value added tax, etc. And it is a supply factor that shifts supply curve to the left. Equilibrium is the position where demand and supply intersect each other, or it is the equality of quantity, demand and quantity supplied, and it has no tendency to change unless there is a change in any non-price factor. So this is the basic knowledge for 3 marks, and then you have to analyze the situation for 3 marks. Now you have to make the graph of equilibrium, and then you can shift supply curve to the left. So this is the equilibrium point where price is P and quantity is Q. Imposition of indirect tax will shift supply curve to the left. Now price will go up to P1 and the new quantity is Q1, and another price we will find here, that is P2, right? So this is the total amount of tax. This is total amount of tax, out of which this tax is paid by the consumer and this portion is paid by the producer. I'll show you a clear graph of this. Okay, so indirect tax falls on consumer as well as the producer in this case, and then you have to explain this graph as well, right? And at the end you have to evaluate the incidence of tax. Incidence means tax burden. So incidence of indirect tax mainly falls on consumer when the demand of consumer is inelastic. Inelastic demand is when a change in price leads to a less than proportionate change in quantity demand. So consumers have to purchase the product if there is high price as well. So more tax burden falls on the consumer. However, if the demand is elastic, means a little change in price will lead to a greater change in quantity demand, so less tax burden will fall on the consumer. So let's have a look on the answer to this question. You can read the answer thoroughly and you can take screenshot if you wish. So answer starts from here. This is 2A. You can take screenshot of this part, and you can stop the video, read the question, read the answer as well, or if you want, you can take the screenshot as well. So this is the supply curve that has shifted to the left, right? And this portion is burden on consumer and this portion is burden on producer, right? And at the end you have to give overall conclusion and evaluation of this part. Okay, so I believe you have read this answer, and now moving to part B of this question. Part B says, assess whether improved provision of information is likely to be the best way to reduce consumption of demerit goods? Again, you have to identify assessment objective 1, 2 and 3 and then answer all of them. Assessment objective 1 will include the basic definition and description of demerit goods and the description of improved provision of information, that is called awareness to remove market failure or information failure. You have to identify the features of demerit goods. They are generally overconsumed because people don't have true knowledge about the harmful effects of these goods, so they overconsume them generally. Examples include cigarettes, alcohol and unprescribed drugs, etc. And pollution of all types is also a demerit good. And then you have to say how provision of information, that is creating awareness among the people about the harmfulness of demerit goods, can basically help to decrease the consumption of demerit goods. So government can use multiple methods where doctors can educate the people and they can conduct seminars, they can go to the schools, colleges and universities, let the people know how demerit goods are harmful and how they can affect their lungs and how they can affect their overall health. Government can also force the producers to publish important information on the labels and packaging of the product as well. It will also create awareness. And then you will say that provision of information will create awareness. As a result, people will decrease the demand for demerit goods, or demand curve will shift to the left, or uske liye then you will have to make the graph as well where you have to shift demand curve to the left. And you will say that provision of information has led to decrease in demand for demerit goods, so consumption has decreased. And now you have to evaluate this policy, why this policy might not be that much helpful, because people may not be willing to learn new stuff and learn new information about the demerit goods, and demerit goods being habit forming may not be stop purchasing, and people may still continue purchasing them because of inelastic demand and habit forming good. And it also basically limits the provision of information accurately, because the providers of information sometimes are not that much motivated to convey the information in true sense or enthusiastically, so people may not learn the new stuff and they may not listen to them. So as a result, the provision of information may be wasted. And on the other hand, you will have to suggest another objective policy as well, apart from the provision of information. The other method that you may mention may include indirect tax, and you may use minimum price, where price goes up the equilibrium. Government can also ban the industry as well. You can pick any one other policies to explain or evaluate the situation. So you can, for example, pick indirect taxes, because we have already explained indirect taxes in the above part as well, so you can just refer your explanation to this part. You need not to reproduce it again. So you will say that indirect taxes will make demerit goods expensive, and when price increases, then there may be many people who don't afford to buy the product, so as a result consumption will decrease. And you can refer it to this graph as well. You can say that the phenomena of indirect taxes has been explained in part A with graph. So examiner will go back and look into that graph as well and will award you the marks. And at the end you will say that even indirect taxes might not reduce the consumption of demerit goods a lot because of habit forming good, so people may not stop buying them. And at the end you will have to give conclusion. In conclusion, you can basically talk in favor of the provision of information or against it as well. So if you say that provision of information can be the best way to reduce consumption of demerit goods, you will say that it has long lasting impact, because when people know the effects of demerit goods in true sense, they may stop purchasing them and consuming them in the long run. Now look into the exact answer to this question. So this is the answer you can see on the screen. This is part B. You can start reading from here, and you can take the screenshot as well. And now moving to the next page, right? So this is the diagram that I was talking about. Provision of information will decrease the demand for demerit goods, and then its explanation. Read the answer carefully, and this is a complete answer for this question, and answer ends here. Okay, so this is it for this video, and I'll be posting all other answers of March 2024 exam shortly, and see you soon. Allah Hafiz.